Where's my picture?
Top left. Yep. Don't put beside it. Other way, sorry. Yep.
Okay, hi everybody. This is Dr. Nada, and welcome to our monthly workshop. So for this month, we're talking about HeartSmart Nutrition, and so I do have some powerful information for you tonight. We're going to dive right into that. So we just want to welcome the patients, my patients that are on the line, and welcome the guests that are on the line as well. And I hear some of you are having a kind of a house party at the same time with these workshops, inviting neighbors and friends over. We've heard some of that. So that's great that you're here. And I do, again, I've got lots of research here for tonight, research here for you tonight. And so we're going to get right into this. So, you know, do you know somebody, even yourself, who has heart issues, high blood pressure, things like had a heart attack, a stroke, or you may be taking cholesterol medications or blood pressure or blood thinners, you know, things like that. So I think we all know somebody, and so many actually out there. And why is it that so many are taking these medications? You know, when it's really a preventable problem. It's preventable in all cases. It's reversible in some. So, and I think the problem is we're not fixing the causes. We're not fixing the problems themselves. We're not really preventing things from happening in our lives. And, you know, maybe no fault to our own, but we need to gain knowledge and gain application. And, you know, it's not just information. You want to take the information and apply it as well. So that's what these webinars and these workshops are for. So, you know, in North America, we take the most drugs. We have the best hospitals. But the statistics really are getting worse every year, just like cancer is increasing, diabetes is increasing, autoimmune diseases are epidemic, things like ADD, autism, depression, anxiety, Alzheimer's. So, you know, we're here to learn again and to apply. I always say information without application is hallucination. So, you know, let's make sure that we're applying here. So get the knowledge, get empowered. That's the purpose of this. So you can learn to even ask your medical doctor, you know, intelligent questions. You know, when the people come back to these workshops, these webinars every month, and that's what happens. So they learn more, they gain more knowledge, and they ask more intelligent questions to doctor. Don't be afraid to talk to your medical doctor about things. You know, if the medical doctor is just kind of pushing another prescription drug medication your way, I want you to feel more empowered to ask questions, you know, more confidence, and ultimately you'll make better choices. So that's very important. So you'll see when you start asking questions too, the medical doctors may, you know, they may back off, or, you know, may have a conversation with you actually, and it may actually work out for you better, not because you're being defiant. That's not what we're saying, but you're just asking questions referenced by medical journals that they're supposed to be reading. So, you know, not just following some protocol. That's oftentimes what happens. The medical doctors have to follow the protocols, but you can decide because you have information. So I'll offer you both sides of the story, so to speak. And, you know, but what I've taught for 25 years is that lifestyle is the most important thing for you. So let's move on. So just a quick disclaimer. You can read this later if you like, come back to it. Okay. Required to do that with these social media webinars here. So did you know? So #1 killer for men and women in the US. Now in Canada, heart disease is actually #2. Cancer is #1 in Canada. So not great news there, but 6 times more women die each year from heart attacks than from breast cancer. There are 3 times more people dying of cardiovascular disease today than in the 1930s. So, and then plus the offshoots, you know, the side effects of all the medications are creating other problems as well. That's why the problem becomes so deep. Yeah, but they're creating other problems like cancer and diabetes and Alzheimer's just because of the side effects of the heart medications. The top 10 selling drugs in North America, 2 of them are high blood pressure medications. 2 of them are cholesterol drugs. 2 are acid reflux medications. 2 are depression, anxiety medications. That's pretty well 8 out of 10 right there. Top selling drugs in North America. So is that a sign of a healthy nation? I think not. So again, we need to gain knowledge, need to wake up. Basically, we need to wake up and create our own health, create our own future. And that's what we want for you. So here's some facts. We're going to start out by talking about cholesterol. I really think it's a lot of myths there that are being propagated. But let's start by talking about the facts of cholesterol. The brain holds 2% of the body's mass, but the brain actually contains 25% of the total cholesterol in the body. Very, very interesting. So it must be very important cholesterol then. Cholesterol forms membranes of cells, keeps cells membranes functional. The nutrients can go into the cells much better, and bad stuff and waste products can be taken out of the cells because of that. It's called semi-permeable membrane, bilipid. It's a fat layer, basically, bilipid, fat phospholipid bilayer. So cholesterol in the brain serves as a powerful antioxidant. It protects the brain against the damaging effects of free radicals. So what happens to these benefits as a result of lowering your cholesterol artificially? So let's talk about that. So cholesterol is the building block of steroid hormones. So including stress hormones like cortisol, and the male and female sex hormones, including progesterone, testosterone, and the estrogens. Cholesterol becomes vitamin D when struck by sunshine. So cholesterol is a precursor to vitamin D. High levels of vitamin D appear to protect against dementias as well. So how can we make vitamin D when cholesterol levels are lowered with the statin drugs, the artificial drugs there? The bile salts created or required for digestion of fats are also made of cholesterol. So a lot of reasons why we need cholesterol in the body. Cholesterol is considered a repair substance. So think of that. It's a repair substance. It is vital for neurological function. It plays a role in the formation of memory and the uptake of hormones and neurotransmitters in the brain, including serotonin, called the feel-good hormone. So the effects of statins, muscle weakness, polyneuropathy. So Dr. Beatrice Guillaume of San Diego found that 98% of patients taking Lipitor, one of the most common, popular selling, it was actually one time the highest selling prescription medication. It made the most money of any in history of any medication that was prescribed. So, but Lipitor, taking Lipitor, 1/3 of the patients taking Mevacor, a lower dose statin, suffer from muscle problems. So the number one side effect is muscle aches, muscle problems, muscle weakness. Even loss of muscle mass is a greater problem there. But polyneuropathy, also known as peripheral neuropathy, characterized by weakness and tingling in the hands and the feet and pain, as well as difficulty walking. So researchers who studied 500,000 residents of Denmark, it's about 9% of that country's population, found that people who took statins were more likely to develop polyneuropathy. Taking statins for 1 year raised the risk of nerve damage by about 15%. And for those who took statins for 2 or more years, the additional risk rose to 26%. So statins are known to decrease brain function. So here's a biggie here. Block or inhibit an enzyme that produces pardon me. So you block. So what statins do actually is they block or inhibit an enzyme that produces cholesterol from the liver. So that's what statins do. Now Lipitor has over 700 known side effects. Lipitor is known as being what's called the memory killer now. In 2012. The Food and Drug Administration in the United States put a black box warning on statin drugs, so cholesterol-lowering medications, regarding increased dementia risk. 2018 study found that fat-soluble statins, one of them was called atorvastatin or simvastatin, increased dementia risk as well. So these drugs get into the brain much more readily and easily. So your liver makes about 1/3 of cholesterol in the body. The other cells make about 2/3. But here's what I want to say about this slide. What have you heard about LDL? So LDL, everybody's heard that's good or bad, right? That's bad. So we've heard that it's a bad thing. So good and bad cholesterol is actually not true. LDL is produced in areas under stress, and it responds to tissue damage. It's a repair substance. It's gotten a bad rap. So LDL is actually not even cholesterol, for that matter. It's a low-density lipoprotein. And the fundamental role of LDL in the brain, for example, is to transport life-giving cholesterol to the neuron where it performs critically important functions. So how many of you want your brain neurons firing properly? That would be everybody. Did you know that cholesterol can rise? It increases in the body due to things like being pre-diabetic, increased blood sugar, makes your cholesterol rise. Infection in the body raises your cholesterol. Having a leaky gut, so immune reactions to foods. Porous gut lining actually raises cholesterol. Hypothyroidism, inflammation in the body, even things like trauma, like surgery or accident, even a tooth extraction can raise your cholesterol, if not temporary. Visceral fat around the gut raises cholesterol. Stressors, things like diet, poor nutrition, stressors to the body, chemicals, mental, emotional stress, cholesterol rises. If you're chased by a saber-toothed tiger, your cholesterol is going to rise. Why is that? Because cholesterol is a repair substance. The body thinks you're going to get wounded, so it sends out more cholesterol to the body. It's life-saving, actually. So the question is, why is cholesterol there? Why is cholesterol rising? Why is it high in the medical dogma? Find out why, then make the changes. It's not just like you have high cholesterol, we're going to drug everybody, we're going to drug society, because that's treating the symptom. That's not correcting the cause. So if it's high, it must be high for a reason. Find out what that reason is, get to the reason, and then make the changes accordingly. The Canadian Medical Association, 2008, said an LDL level of 2.76 was associated with a 33% increased risk of cancer and death. So that's a very low level of cholesterol. An LDL level of 2.25 was associated with a 50% increased risk. So as the LDL went lower, the risk kept getting worse. A famous study in 2005 measured many, many different things, including heart and brain and all of those things. So it looked at well over 2,000 subjects, and cognitive tests, brain tests were performed every 4 to 6 years, evaluating memory, learning, concept formation, concentration, attention span, abstract reasoning, and organizational abilities, all the features compromised in patients with Alzheimer's disease, for example. Participants with total cholesterol less than 5.17 performed less well than participants with borderline high total cholesterol. That's 5.17 to 6.18. And participants with high total cholesterol levels greater than 6.2 as well as the compared to. The people who had the highest cholesterol levels actually scored higher on cognitive testing than those with normal lower levels. Published in the Journal of Family Practice. Lab reports have repeatedly demonstrated those on statin drugs are 2 times as likely to have low testosterone levels. So cholesterol is a precursor for these sex hormones. You need cholesterol as a precursor to create and to make sex hormones. So a common complaint among those taking statin drugs was muscle pain, but also things like erectile dysfunction and decreased libido. So what do statin drugs do to your libido then? They decrease your libido? Let's talk about that. So no wonder. Hormone imbalances are created because cholesterol is a foundation of all sex hormones. So if you decrease cholesterol artificially, you're going to affect that creation of sex hormones. It throws the whole system out of whack. You have no interest. Yeah, you're depressed because it affects the brain neurotransmitters like serotonin as well. Yet Pfizer, the drug company Pfizer, starts with a P, sounds like an F, may be involved in disease mongering because they are the makers of Lipitor. One of the side effects of Lipitor is erectile dysfunction. So guess what pharmaceutical company actually created Viagra? Pfizer did. Seems like a conflict of interest to me. They create a side effect. A side effect is created as for the medication, let's say Lipitor, and then it causes a new condition. And then you have the same company has a solution for that new condition that was created by the side effect that was produced by the original drug. Even more reasons to avoid statin drugs. It depletes your body of CoQ10, which is an essential mitochondria. The mitochondria of the cell is the power plant of the cell, and it's a nutrient that facilitates energy production, ATP production, especially in the heart muscle, and the heart muscle in general, and the brain. It also inhibits the production of vitamin K. So vitamin K2 protects your arteries from calcification. It aids in vitamin D absorption. So it's important for bone and immune system function. Other side effects or other reasons to avoid statin medications. Cancer. Research shows long-term statin use, 10 years or longer, more than doubles women's risk of breast cancer. This was from a National Cancer Institute study of 12,488 men and women. It wasn't a small-scale study, and who had the lowest cholesterol levels. So the people with the lowest cholesterol levels were more likely to get cancer. Diabetes, so a recent study, and certainly I've been hearing this quite often lately as well. The statins can double your risk of type 2 diabetes and triple the risk when taken for more than 2 years. So it disrupts the production of adrenal hormones and can lead to blood sugar problems. Number 5, impaired fertility. So statins are considered a Category X medication, causes serious birth defects. That's what that means. So they should never be used by pregnant women or women planning a pregnancy. So deaths from congestive heart failure have more than doubled from 1989 to 1997. Statins were first given pre-market approval in 1987. Interference with the production of CoQ10 was the most likely reason why that was happening. The heart is a muscle and cannot work when deprived of CoQ10. So, the ugly truth. Controlled trials that revealed no cardiovascular mortality benefit from lowering cholesterol. So here's a few. One of the most conspicuous ones was the Accelerate trial with over 12,000 patients at high risk of heart disease that revealed no reductions in heart attack or stroke or death, despite a 37% reduction in LDL cholesterol. Cardiologist Aseem Malhotra, in a letter to the British Parliament, he called for statin investigations. So he wanted to get all that investigated and see what was going on there. So again, treating symptoms, we're not getting to the cause, right? So heart disease is the result of other factors beyond cholesterol, way beyond cholesterol. Smoking, stress, poor nutrition, lack of exercise. We'll get into some of this. The Journal of the American Medical Association, 1994, put out a review, said it had 1,000 participants in a four-year Yale study. People with low total cholesterol had just as many heart attacks as those with high total cholesterol. 75% of patients hospitalized with a heart attack had cholesterol levels in the normal range. This was a study of 137,000 patients hospitalized for a heart attack. Only 4% of what is in a clot or a plaque, what's in the clot in the heart vessel, is made up of cholesterol. And there was, again, there's a history there many, many years ago that they found cholesterol in the plaques. So they had made a determination that cholesterol was the reason why the arteries were clogging up. So while there are some studies that do suggest that statin drugs can reduce heart attack risk due to their anti-inflammatory effects, not due to the cholesterol lowering effects, overall death is not reduced. So statin drugs have more of an anti-inflammatory effect, which is good for inflammation of arteries, right? But the result was not due to the cholesterol lowering effects. But even with that, the overall death rate was not reduced, and there's just over 700 side effects. So what shall we do? There was another study, a couple other ones, antihypertensive and lipid lowering treatment to prevent heart attack trial. It's called the ALLHAT trial. The largest North American cholesterol lowering trial ever, and the largest trial in the world using Lipitor, showed mortality of the treatment group, those taking Lipitor, compared to the control group after 3 to 6 years was identical. Both groups showed the same rates of death, heart attack, and heart disease. Lipitor had no effect. The prospective study of pravastatin in the elderly risk. This was a study that studied the effect of pravastatin compared to a placebo. Total mortality of total serious adverse events were unchanged by the drug pravastatin compared to the placebo and those in the treatment group. Those in the treatment group had increased cancer as well. In 2002, a 6-year study of 48,000 patients treated with the same dose of simvastatin. So some patients had no reduction of LDL levels, some had moderate reduction of LDL levels, and some had a very large LDL reduction. The results were no correlation between the amount of LDL lowering and death rates at 5 years. So, high cholesterol, hypercholesterolemia, is an invented disease for most. It's got to be, according to the research. The cholesterol dogma says high cholesterol is the forerunner of heart disease and other. What was that based on? The doctors, government, old research, the medical establishment. You know, the media is really we call it the distribution arm of big pharma. The media, does that. So it's kind of part of the system. It's been part of the system. They won't change it. It's too lucrative, like other things like mammograms and PSA testing and whatever else we can talk about. Painkillers, they're hesitant to give painkillers. Antidepressants are a huge problem. Antibiotics, antibiotic resistance is a huge problem as well, but we'll get into that another time. So high cholesterol exhibits no outward signs. Doctors must first convince their patients that they are sick and need to take one or more expensive drugs for the rest of their lives. These drugs that require regular checkups and blood tests and create other problems that will require more drugs. So is there such a thing as dangerously high cholesterol? As a screening tool, cholesterol is probably an extremely poor predictor of heart attack risk. 2018 review presents substantial evidence that total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol levels are not an indication of heart disease risk, and that statin treatment is of doubtful benefit as a form of primary prevention for this reason. New England Journal of Medicine, 2005, found that patients with low So high sensitive, this is HSCRP, means C-reactive protein. And so C-reactive protein is an inflammatory marker. I've had this done with my integrative physician over in Michigan. You know, naturopath could do this as well over here, but my doctor is actually in Michigan, called an integrative physician, or a they have different names for. I'm trying to think what the name was now. So integrative physician, functional medical doctor is the other name of that. So I have a functional medical doctor in Michigan. My family history, father's, my dad's doing well, but both my grandfathers died of 50 years old and 60 years old of massive heart attacks. So first thing my functional medical doctor measured on me, the first blood test that she did, was a C-reactive protein test, and mine was found to be very, very good. But look at this information here. Found that patients with low C-reactive protein levels had fewer heart attacks no matter their LDL cholesterol level, and they had more heart attacks if their C-reactive protein levels were elevated, regardless of the LDL. So very key finding. So basically what this means is typically the more inflammation in your body, the higher your cholesterol typically goes. Inflammation is a root factor in most diseases, including atherosclerosis, that is clogging of the arteries, and heart disease. Chronic inflammation in the wall of the blood vessel. That's what we're talking about. So chronic inflammation in the wall of the blood vessel. But what cholesterol's role is, cholesterol acts like a fire extinguisher that puts out the fire of inflammation. So that's why it goes there. So what's causing the inflammation? That's what you have to ask. Stress, diet, toxicity. These are the things. So you drive down the inflammation, naturally through your lifestyle, making lifestyle changes. Your cholesterol naturally will go to whatever level it needs to be at. Okay, so blood cholesterol will find its set point, its healthy level, where it needs to be for that person by living what's called the Core 4 lifestyle. So this is what we do in our office. We talk about Core 4, function of the body through function of the nervous system, fitness, education, proper nutrition, supplementation. So the Core 4 lifestyle is nervous system care, right? It's exercise. Supporting the adrenals is another thing. So adrenals support cortisol, which lowers inflammation. If the adrenals are exhausted, inflammation runs rampant. So to sum this up, if the set point of your cholesterol level is higher than so-called normal, even if you're doing all of these changes, the Core 4, living the right lifestyle, then that's where it needs to be. That's where the cholesterol level needs to be in your body, because it's repairing something, it's doing a job. Don't worry about it. Now, we're going to talk about blood pressure, and then we'll get some solutions here. But would it make sense when we talk about blood pressure? I'll get my picture off for a second. So would it make sense to say that the more drugs you take, which are chemicals and are toxic to the body, the greater your risk for other problems? Absolutely. So let's look at some of the side effects of blood pressure medications. There is things like chest pain, shortness of breath, depression, confusion, memory problems, hallucinations, constipation, heartburn, diarrhea, decreased sex drive, impotence, headache, fatigue, insomnia, anxiety. It's known to raise insulin levels. It causes mineral depletion and can even cause cancer. So high blood pressure, what is high blood pressure? It's an elevated blood pressure reading on a cuff, on a sphygmomanometer, on a blood pressure cuff, on a measuring device that can have many causes, right? So would 120/80 seem normal for people of all ages, in all sizes and gender? Think about it. A 70-year-old woman, 5 foot tall, with some, because she's 70, she has some stiffness of her vessels, of her arterial vessels or blood vessels, some rigidity in her blood vessels. Should her blood pressure be the same as a 30-year-old man, 6 foot tall? Of course not. Purpose of blood is to supply oxygen to tissues and organs of the body and to supply nutrients such as glucose, amino acids, fatty acids to the cells. Blood also acts to remove waste products such as carbon dioxide, urea, and lactic acid. Blood has immunological, immune system effects and functions, carrying white blood cells, and for the detection of foreign material by antibodies. Clotting is part of the body's self-repair, happens in the blood. Messenger functions, transport of hormones, regulation of pH, acidity in the body, in the blood, regulation of core body temperature, and many, many more functions. So if we're not getting to the cause of high blood pressure and artificially decreasing the pressure, this causes decreased function of the very purpose of the blood in itself, or the purpose of blood flow. The high blood pressure is there for a reason. The heart is pumping harder to try to get oxygen to the body. It's an adaptive response. High blood pressure is the body adapting to toxicity or deficiency. Get to the cause, change the lifestyle. You know, I understand medications for short-term emergency care. Of course, short-term emergency care. But then maybe you need to fix the lifestyle, right? So losing weight, eating better, stop smoking, decrease the stress, exercise, nervous system care. You know, all of these things, if we're not doing this, cause high blood pressure. They cause high blood sugar, right? They cause brain issues, even cancer. You know, the medical doctors got drugs for all these things, all of these things. They follow the standard clinical protocol. They must. The questions to ask, you know, here's some questions to ask. Do I really need to use these potentially dangerous drugs? Are these drugs studied long-term? Will the drugs eliminate the problem? Or will it create another problem? See, the drugs may change the numbers, but are you healthy? Just was a couple of years ago, valsartan. So they've been finding that there was an impurity that caused cancer in a blood pressure medication. So there was another one just last year, January 18th of 2019 as well, irbesartan stata, it's called, a high blood pressure medication. It was the fourth blood pressure medication drug recalled over a cancer-causing impurity, let alone the side effects, right? Drug recall has been going on forever with little liability. It's very little liability on the part of the drug manufacturers. So just a few more, guys. Beta blockers, diuretics, you know, called water pills, calcium channel blockers. You know, especially with water pills, you lose minerals. You lose potassium, you lose magnesium, sodium. You become weak, tired, and irritable. Side effects of the medications again. Calcium channel blockers cause a 26% increase in risk of having a heart attack and a heart failure. That was from the Journal of the American College of Cardiology. Calcium channel blockers also are known to shrink the brain, along with gradual shrinking away from the skull and the hippocampal area. There's gradual loss of intellect, decision-making, reflexes, memory, personality, emotional control. from the archives of internal medicine. Metformin can increase your chances of dying from cardiovascular problems by 250%. So rethinking the cause of disease and early death. I read a book called The Paleocardiologist. Dr. Jack Wolfson of New York City, actually met him at a seminar, and he ends up marrying a chiropractor, totally changing his traditional ways of how he practiced cardiology. He's quite famous, has a great book called The Paleocardiologist. His dad was a traditional cardiologist, and he's a traditional cardiologist, but he found a greater love for preventing heart disease because of everything that he saw in his practice. Unbridled inflammation is a fundamental cause of early death associated with coronary artery disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, and virtually every other chronic disease you can imagine. This is from a neurologist, Dr. David Perlmutter. Dr. Brad Weeks, a cardiologist, stated the injury and inflammation to our cells and blood vessels is caused by the high bad carb diet, and the low fat diet. So they thought that all fat was bad. They told us that. We found out that's not true. There's good and bad fats. And this was recommended for years by mainstream medicine. So does cholesterol cause coronary artery disease? Well, coronary artery disease has more to do with what's called oxidized LDL. Sugar molecules attach themselves to the LDL and change the molecule's shape, rendering it nearly useless while increasing free radical production and inflammation. So clots in the vessels are constantly being formed and dissolved. So you have a mental image then of a clogged artery, okay? Well, it has more to do with oxidized cholesterol and inflammation of the artery, of the interior of the arterial wall, than just cholesterol being the problem. There's more to the story, right? If cholesterol is supposed to be there because it's a repair substance, it's going in there to try to repair something, then something is modifying its role to cause a problem. And what would that be? Sugar. Sugar causes a rusting-like process, like an exposed apple turning brown. That's oxidation. And so you have a process called inflammation that swells the vessel shut. The sugar also causes nicks and cuts in the vessel lining. So cholesterol is not the problem in itself. It's the sugar oxidizing the cholesterol and causing an inflammatory response. That's why the CRP, the C-reactive protein inflammatory marker, that's why those CRP levels are so important. It can tell you if it's happening or if you're at risk for clogged arteries. So taking statins to lower cholesterol, it's an approach, it has an anti-inflammatory effect. There's over 700 side effects. Decreased brain function, increased deaths, risk of death. So we got to change our lifestyle. Inflammation from sugar and bad fats. So just go over this. The percent of fat in the blood rises with quantity of bad carbohydrates, which is being oxidized rather than with the fat administered. So a wide open artery, like the one on the top, there's no clogging, no atherosclerosis, no inflammation. That's what that means. This person could have high cholesterol, but they're not at risk. Maybe it's natural for that person. So if eating, fruits, veggies, proteins, healthy fats, that's called anti-inflammatory nutrition. You can call it paleo, call it ketogenic, and call it vegetarian. But if you eat a diet that's high in the bad carbs, good carbs and bad carbs, the high fructose corn syrup, refined grains, bad fats, sugars, will statin drugs get to the cause of the problem? Right? If you're doing that, if you're consuming that. So it's like mopping up the floor. Your bathtub is overflowing. If you don't shut off the faucet, you won't fix the problem. So just trying to, keep up, mopping the floor. To me, that's what statin drugs are doing. So long-term drugs, so you gotta, if you're just mopping the floor, you're gonna have to be on those drugs for the rest of your life. So we must address lifestyle. So here's a couple things to be aware of. Reducing heart disease means reducing sugars. I do nutritional consultations in the office. I've been in private practice for 25 years. Very difficult. Sugar is very addictive. So bad sugars, there's a love-hate relationship, Today, the way food is made, more sugars, adding sugars, food that turns to sugar, more processed foods, more chemicals than ever, and cravings. If you don't reduce or eliminate the sugars and the hidden sugars, you got to read those labels. Then that reward center, just like cocaine, there is a reward center of the brain that lights up. Same area of the brain as what cocaine does. So it's very addictive. Is it easy to break? It's not easy to break. So grocery stores are profit-based. They put the certain items that are popular sellers at eye level. It's all marketing. So stay away from certain aisles. The food industry does not care. So things like white flour, breads, pasta, muffins, cereals, baked goods, fruit juices, pop, macaroni, breaded items like breaded fish or breaded chicken, white rice, white potato, very high glycemic. If you put a tablespoon of sugar in your mouth, some of these products here are actually even more glycemic. They have a greater effect on your insulin level and cause inflammatory changes in the body than even table sugar. Read those labels. So you see a nutrition fact on the left there. 26 grams of sugars there. And so basically, on the left, clogged arteries. You want to move from that, and there should be like a lot of other things up on there, not just the grains. But you want to move from the left, you want to move to the right. So you look at eggs, things like fatty fish, salmon, the smashed fish, nuts and seeds, nut butters, low sugar fruits, a lot of veggies. Clean out those arteries. So move from left to right. So, you have to do these things, people. Like, you say, well, maybe I'll do half of it. Maybe I'll do 75% of it. Well, you make the choice. But if you have issues with weight, if you're diabetic, if you have heart issues, even the things that run in the family, if you have cancer, you have to do these things. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, and there may be snacks in between. So, but again, it doesn't matter. Brain health, diabetes, weight loss, autoimmune disease, cancer. Autoimmune, Dr. Terry Walls, who wrote the Walls Protocol, she talks about this. Cancer killers, the book that I read on cancer killers. Heart health, paleocardiologist. Wheat belly, Dr. William Davis, who's a cardiologist. Grain brain, Dr. David Perlmutter. They all say the same thing. Or if you have these issues, diabetes, weight loss, brain health issues, autoimmune cancer, heart, or if you don't, you just want to practice prevention, food matters. So load of veggies, vitamins and minerals. Look for clean protein, good protein like wild fish. The smashed fish stands for salmon, mackerel, anchovy, sardines, herring. Grass-fed beef. There's a place on Walker Road near the old food market, the old European market across the street there, near Ottawa and Walker Road, European market. Brantner's is called. It's called Brantner's. They have a lot of great grass-fed stuff there. Free-range chicken. grass-fed liver, and then fruit. Low sugar fruits are berries, healthy fats. So what I do, you gotta have good salads, you have good protein. So basically I have, your protein, healthy fat, a vegetable at every meal, not spiking insulin, keeping insulin low, and not creating inflammation in the body. Okay, so a salad, have a salad, put pumpkin seeds on it, put walnuts on it. Have a protein with your salad. Watch the dressings. So you want to have like olive oil, balsamic vinaigrette. Those dressings have tons of bad fats and high sugars. Again, so choose your proteins. Have steamed vegetables, raw vegetables with your liver, lamb, or other protein. I like to do a shake. I recommend a lot of my patients, they have the shake. They buy the shake recipe from our office and the shake protein from our office. And the shake is great. It has detoxification factors, a lot of vitamins and minerals in it, but a very clean protein, chickpea protein. So it can be used as a meal replacement. Great, solve one of your meals. Have a shake. What I do is I use unsweetened almond milk or coconut milk or oat milk. I'll add water. I put the shake powder in, and I put frozen veggies. So I get veggies from the grocery store. I cut them up. I put them in big freezer bags, and I have them available for my shakes. And they cut up very nice in the blender. So things like kale, spinach, broccoli, collard greens, cilantro, other greens. You can have fun with it. May even put some apple cider vinegar in my shake. Flax meal, ground chia, good fats, good healthy fats and proteins. Coconut oil, hemp hearts, nut butters. These are all good healthy fats. And I put frozen wild blueberries as well, or other berries in the shake. So I'll have a shake every day. I also do intermittent fasting for another workshop there. Well, you can have 2 shakes a day if you want. Just make sure, again, your meal has healthy fats in it and has some protein in it. Otherwise, you're going to get hungry quickly. So you want to be satiated, and even a healthy snack. You can have it like a small shake as a healthy snack, or have a pickle, or cut up some vegetables. Have walnuts and almonds with it. Hummus is a good snack. If I have an apple, I typically put almond butter or tahini or sesame seed butter or some type of nut butter on it. So the less sugar the body will use, the less sugar you have in the body, the less sugar you put in your body, the body will use fat stores instead for energy. So again, replace bad fats with good fats. So this was from 2010, 340,000 people followed from 5 to 23 years. Another large-scale study. The intake of saturated fat was not associated with an increased risk of coronary heart disease, stroke, or cardiovascular disease. So that was old information. Now they're saying differently. The actual risk for heart disease was 19% lower in the group consuming the highest amount of saturated fat. So again, good fats, unsalted full-fat butter, Irish butter, coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil, avocados, raw nuts and seeds and butters, and fatty fish. Again, not the hydrogenated oils, the vegetable oils. Partially hydrogenated. I read those labels there. Okay, so 50% of cell membranes is saturated fat. The heart muscle prefers saturated fat as a fuel source. And I must add that as for recommended supplementation, when we talk about nutrition, I say absolutely, especially when it comes to heart health. If you are a patient of mine, what I'm doing after I'm done this talk, just a few minutes here, will be finished. I will send tomorrow a link to my patients to learn of the recommended heart supplements. So be aware of that. So we're going to send a link tomorrow regarding the supplementation aspect of Heart Smart Nutrition. Okay, So I'm just going to finish here with the one last thing, and we're going to talk about finally clear neurological function. My patients understand that. The guests that are on the line, I want to introduce this to you. Critical part of function of the body and what controls function of the body is the nervous system. I think everybody knows that. But your nervous system regulates heart rate. It's an electrical system. It regulates blood pressure, respiration, digestion, behavior, libido, temperature, appetite, sleep, metabolism, much more. The effectiveness of this system is directly proportional to the capability of the nervous system to send and receive nerve messages traveling along the spinal cord. Hippocrates, Greek philosopher many thousands of years ago, he said, look well to spine for the cause of disease. Thomas Edison had a famous quote, again, many years ago. He said, the doctor of the future will give no medicine. Well, I don't know about that. But he said, the doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patients in diet, in the care of the human frame, and in the cause and prevention of disease. Well said, Thomas Edison. It's so true. In diet, in the cause and prevention of disease, and in the care of the human frame. What's the human frame? Your spine and your nervous system. So there's part of the nervous system called the autonomic, sounds like automatic, nervous system. It's comprised of what's called a sympathetic and a parasympathetic. The sympathetic part of your autonomic nervous system deals with fight or flight. So this has been implicated in heart disease as well. There's a short-term response to stress called fight or flight, right? There's increased blood sugar, increased cholesterol, decreased blood supply to the gut. That's a normal short-term response to stress, fight or flight. But also it irritates and stimulates the sympathetic nervous system. And those nerves go to various parts of your body, including your heart. The sympathetic nervous system jacks up those things, heart rate, blood pressure, respiration, whereas the parasympathetics bring it down. Parasympathetic part of the nervous system is called the rest, good sleep, rest, digestion, reproduction, hormones, and repair system. They need to be balanced, and many people, they're not. So the weight of a dime on a spinal nerve will reduce nerve transmission by as much as 60%. Think about that. Nerve transmission, nerve signals going from the brain through your spine, out the spine to all the organs and parts of the body can be reduced. Dr. Chung Ha Su, University of Colorado. So what causes that reduction? It's called subluxations. So what happens is subluxations. So due to falls, slips, poor posture, accidents, accumulated over time, the bumps, bangs, falls, slips, accidents, stresses, they do cause the bones of the spine, the vertebrae, to go out of alignment. Chokes and irritates nerve transmission. The nerve signals get interfered with. The messages traveling from the brain through the cord, out the spine, to the body parts. The organs even included. There's information that goes from the nerves also back up into the brain as well. It's a feedback system. And so the nervous system, again, feeds the smooth muscles lining the inner blood vessels, allowing contraction and dilation, opening up of those arteries. Now, the nervous system is linked to blood pressure control. The nervous system is an electrical system and goes to the heart. The brain and the nervous system, again, controls every function of the body. So subluxations that we were talking about causing nerve interference can also cause issues like headaches, fatigue, dizziness, sinus issues, neck and back pain, shoulder problems, arm pain, leg pain, and numbness, tingling, sciatica, scoliosis, and stooped postures, and many other things. So I thank you for your time. And again, just to finalize for the guests that are here, we do have an offer for you, and I'll put that up right here. So, okay, so for the guests who are on the line, you can see that we do have an offer for you. Now, I'm a wellness doctor. I'm also a doctor of chiropractic. I've been teaching health and healing and different topics of health and lifestyle modifications and behaviors for about 25 years. But we do want to offer you an opportunity. If you have heart issues, if you don't have heart issues, if you just have pain in your body, any symptoms at all, pain, click the link that you have there, and we will get in touch with you. And we have a great offer for you. It's normally a consultation, examination, x-rays, digital x-rays in the office. We have a second visit as well that's included, called a report of findings. All of that normally over $175 to be sure, and we offer that for just $29. So again, for the guests that are still on there, we have an offer for you. Click the link and we'll be in contact with you and can get you checked out. It's a great opportunity for you to get the spine and nervous system evaluated, and certainly I can be your advocate for health as well. So appreciate you. Anything else? I'm just going to go, just for a minute, I'm going to go on the chat and see. Hi, Ken. Hello to you as well. Vange. Thank you, Vange. Good evening. Hi, Deb. Good to see you. Or good to see your name. Beverly. Hello, Beverly Gale. Looking forward to the webinar. Thank you so much. Glad you're online there. So if you have any questions, I can take questions. You just hit the chat and you can type something in. I'll wait a few minutes. And if you want to talk to me personally, you can email me or give me a call at the office here. And I can answer any questions that you may have. I'll just wait another few seconds here. Want to type something in there. Thank you, Esther. Thank you for attending. Have a great night. Okay, thank you, everybody. So be aware of the link that we're going to send you tomorrow, okay, for the supplements.